Now, Alchemy has a couple of other really cool features about it, especially when it comes to learning more about what's actually happening with our transactions. Whenever we send a transaction to a blockchain node, it actually enters something called the mempool. It's basically the place where transactions go before they get actually sent. And the Alchemy dashboard is a great place to actually view those transactions and see their status. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Vito from the Alchemy team, who's going to explain more about what Alchemy has to offer, some of the other cool parts of Alchemy, and more.
ZK Stark, ZK Snark, ZK Proof, ZK. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm GM everyone, and welcome to this brand new video. I'm Vito, and today I'm gonna walk you. This is not my channel. This is not even Alchemy's channel. Where the heck? Oh my god, this is the latest Patrick Collins video about Foundry that everyone must watch. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Vito, and thank you, Patrick, for hosting this cameo. I guess my job today is to tell you a bit more about what Alchemy is, what we do, how we do it, and how you can get the most out of it. Well, before getting started, let me quickly introduce myself. I am Vito, lead developer experience at Alchemy, blockchain developer, and Web3 content creator on a mission to onboard 1 million developers onto Web3. Of course, today, we're not here to talk about me, but we're here to talk about how Alchemy can add pure decentralized applications scale to billions of users. So, to get started, what is Alchemy? Well, Alchemy is a node provider and Web3 developer tooling platform, powering hundreds of thousands of Web3 and Web2 applications out there. Things like OpenSea, Nifty Gateway, but also 0x, Argent, Dapper, but as well as big, massive Web2 companies such as Adobe, Shopify, and Stripe. The question here probably is, why do these companies use us? Why Alchemy? Well, that's the question we'll try to answer here. Briefly, the thing is, when you need to develop an application, chances are you won't run the servers your code will run on. And most likely, you won't even develop the deployment and integration pipelines for it. To do this, you will use services such as AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. Well, Alchemy does exactly this, but for Web3. You can see it as the AWS of Web3, with APIs, SDKs, libraries that will simply make your developer experience better. But how do we do that? Well, we do it in mainly 3 ways. The first one is the Supernode, a blockchain proprietary engine that acts as a load balancer on top of your node and makes sure you always got the latest available data from the blockchain. On top of the Supernode, we built the enhanced APIs. The enhanced APIs are a set of APIs that will allow you to pull data from the blockchain with ease. Here, you can see how we envision this, with the Alchemy Supernode at the center as the core infrastructure powering its ecosystem all around, such as our enhanced APIs, but also our monitoring tools, and of course, supporting all the chains that we support to date. And we'll get back to it in a few seconds. But the question is, of course, how do you get started? Well, the first thing that we're gonna do is navigating on alchemy.com, and we're gonna create a new account. Creating an account on alchemy.com is completely free. And actually, cool thing is that you'll be able to scale your application using our freemium plan because it's quite generous. So don't be concerned about paying anything. Everything you'll see today and probably in Patrick's course is completely free to use. Let's go back to creating a new account. In this case, I will just sign in. Of course, I already have an account. So I'll click on sign in. And as soon as we'll open this window, you will see all of your applications. Of course, if this is the first time you're logging in on Alchemy, you will only see the demo application, but no worries, we're gonna learn how to create a new application right now. Super important, click on create app and let's give it a name. So we're gonna call it Patrick is cool, and I'm gonna use underscores just because of personal preference. Feel free to use spaces or name your application the way you want. We're gonna also give a description. This is optional, you don't have to, but I really think that Patrick is cool. And then we're gonna select a chain. As we said before, we support the majority of EVM compatible chains. As you can see here, we support Ethereum, Polygon POS, also ZK EVM, as well as Optimism and Astar. And on top of that, we support Solana, a non-EVM chain. Here you can select your chain, and here you can select your network. In this case, we will go for Ethereum mainnet, but feel free to try out all the other networks and testnets, of course. We have one for all of these mainnet that we support. So we'll create the new app. And once the app has been created, I can just go and search for my name. So Patrick is cool, and click on my application. Here we go. Once the application has opened, you will be able to see the application specific dashboard. And this is a big game changer for all decentralized application developers, because this gives you full visibility over your application and infrastructure health. You'll be able to see things such as latency, compute units, that is how many RPC calls are eating your nodes, as well as the success rate of your calls, the throughput, and so on and so forth. Super useful when you need to debug. So let's say that here you see 98% of success rate, you'll be able to understand why your transactions are not going through. Well, let's actually do an example. Let me go back and find an application that has actual calls. So here we go. I just navigated to this demo key application that, as you can see, has a ton of calls, but also, as you can see, it has a success rate of 98.5%. That means that 1.5% of our calls are failing to go through. But how do you understand that? How do you debug this? Well, if you're not using Alchemy, chances are that to debug your RPC calls, you will have to spin up your own nodes or run a local node. And in that case, you'll be able to see the logs coming from the node. Otherwise, there is no possibility to see the logs coming from the node. This is not something you will see on Etherscan. Using Alchemy, you'll be able to see all the issues related to your calls, as well as the known issues related to your calls in this dashboard. So let's say that we have 1.5% of calls not going through. What we can do is go on the recent invalid request tab. And here, all the requests that didn't go through will be listed, as well as the reason why they didn't go through. For example, here we have an ETH Sandro transaction that didn't go through because there weren't sufficient gas funds. Well, let's take another one. Here, execution reverted, for example, means that probably there is a problem with the smart contract. So as you can see, debugging, as well as you can see other information on the left-hand side, but I will go back at this in a few seconds because I want to show you another tool that is even more precise to see the information about the actual request. Here, you'll be able to debug your RPC calls with super ease. On top of that, as I was saying, we have other tools to help you debug and get more visibility on your application. So if you click on the menu, and here what we can do is navigate on the mempool. And the mempool is actually just like the mempool that you might think about when you're thinking about Ethereum. So it's a place where all of your transactions are, and you can see the status of the transaction, the information about the transaction, what if the transaction is going through, if it didn't go through, if it's pending for hours, if it got mined, how much it cost, and so on and so forth. So let's say we just navigated on our mempool watcher, and here we have all the transactions going through on our applications. Here I have a bunch of applications, so that's why I'm seeing a lot of transactions. Here on the top, you can see all the mined transactions. So the transactions that already went through, that can be mined or validated. The pending transactions, let me just select one application because of course, otherwise it's gonna take a long time. Here you have all the pending transactions. That mean all the transactions that are waiting to be mined or validated. And here you have dropped and replaced, so transactions that have been dropped, cancelled, or replaced by other transactions with the same nonce, the same call data, and the same gas fees. Or dropped means there are transactions that have been cancelled and won't be validated or mined. But on top of that, you can get even more information on these calls, on these transactions. If I click here on the hash, this won't bring me on Etherscan, but will bring me on the mempool transaction summary page. And here I can see all the information about the transaction. I can see how much gas it costed, which network it was on, of course, the transaction hash, as well as the from address, so who sent the transaction and who's sending the transaction to, as well as the value inside the transaction, the time it took to get sent, and the time it took to get validated. This is more clear on validated transactions where everything has already been filled out. So I can go back in my mine page. So here we go. I can select one. And as you can see here, I have all the information. So I have max fee per gas. I have the transaction type. So this was using the EIP 1559 and a bunch of other information about the transaction itself. Super helpful to debug and get full visibility over it. All right, now that we've quickly gone through how Alchemy works, what it is, and how its features can help your developer experience become way better and develop faster, I don't want to steal much more of your time while learning during this amazing course. So what I'm going to do is leave you with a couple of resources that will make your developer experience with Alchemy even better. The first one is our documentation. So our documentation has everything you need to get started using our APIs, SDK, libraries, and also tools that we didn't have the time to go through today, such as our generalized custom GraphQL webhooks that allow you to pull data real time from the blockchain through GraphQL queries. On top of that, you will also have tutorials and guides to build your applications and complement the knowledge you're creating during this course. Of course, follow us on Twitter at Alchemy Platform or Alchemy Learn. And if you want to shoot me a message telling me the amazing things that you're building while learning from the Patrick's course, please shoot it at VitoStuck on Twitter. Thank you so much, Patrick, once again for hosting us. And thank you everyone for sticking with us for 12 minutes. It's been a pleasure. See you around and happy building.